The emergency beacon pierced through the void of space, its signal weak but persistent. Commander James Nash stood at the helm of the Celestial Guardian, his weathered hands hovering over the controls as he contemplated his next move. After 15 years of patrolling the outer reaches of human space, he thought he'd seen everything. He was wrong. "Sir, life signs are fading," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported from her station, dark eyes fixed on the readout. "Whatever's out there, they don't have much time." Nash nodded, his jaw set with determination. The logical choice would be to ignore it. This was Restricted Zone 7, declared off-limits after the Centauri conflict 3 years ago. Any unauthorized presence here could trigger another diplomatic crisis with the Galactic Alliance. But Nash hadn't spent his life following the safe path. "Plot an intercept course," he ordered, ignoring the concerned glances from his bridge crew, "and get medical bay prepped." As they approached the source of the signal, Nash's breath caught in his throat. The vessel, if you could call it that, was barely larger than an escape pod. Its hull bore the distinctive purple-black markings of the Syrian Empire, humanity's most enigmatic adversary in the recent war. "Multiple hull breaches detected," Rodriguez reported. "Atmosphere venting. One life sign, extremely weak." Nash made his decision. Bring it in. Full quarantine protocols. The recovery operation went smoothly. Too smoothly, Nash thought as he strode toward quarantine. Either they were about to save an innocent life, or they were walking into a trap. His hand rested on his sidearm as the airlock cycled. The pod's occupant lay motionless on the medical bay bed, surrounded by humming diagnostic equipment. Nash's first impression was of iridescence. The alien skin seemed to shift colors like oil on water, even in unconsciousness. Definitely Syrian, but something was off about the markings along their arms and neck. "Fascinating," Dr. Harrison murmured, studying the readings. "Their cellular structure is adapting to our atmosphere in real time. I've never seen anything like it." The alien's eyes snapped open, revealing pupils that swirled like nebulae. Nash found himself taking an involuntary step back as those eyes fixed on him with startling intelligence. "Be still," the alien spoke in perfect English, though their lips didn't move. "I mean no harm." "That makes 2 of us," Nash replied carefully. "I'm Commander James Nash of the Earth vessel Celestial Guardian. You're in our medical bay under quarantine. Can you tell us who you are?" The alien's color rippled, settling into a deep blue that seemed to radiate calm. "I am Mira, former chief scientist of the Syrian Biological Enhancement Division, and I am a fugitive from my own people." Nash's hand tightened on his weapon. The Biological Enhancement Division had been responsible for some of the war's worst atrocities. "Why should we trust you?" "Because," Mira's colors shifted to a muted gray, "I can prove the war was based on a lie. And if you don't help me, millions more will die when it begins again." Nash studied the alien carefully. Years of command had honed his instincts for deception, and something in Mira's manner rang true. Or perhaps they were simply that good at manipulation. Either way, he needed to know more. "Start from the beginning," he said, pulling up a chair. "And don't leave anything out." Naira's story unfolded over the next hour, their colors shifting with each emotional beat of the tale. They spoke of discovering evidence that the initial attacks attributed to humans had been false flag operations, of confronting their superiors with the truth, of the desperate flight that led them to this moment. "They took everything from me," Nira concluded, their skin now a deep purple shot through with silver. "My position, my family, my identity. All I have left is the truth, and the hope that humanity will listen where my own people would not." Nash sat in silence, processing the implications. If Nira was telling the truth, it could prevent another war. If they were lying, helping them could restart one. The weight of the decision pressed down on him like a physical force. "Commander," Rodriguez's voice came through his comm. "Long-range sensors are picking up multiple signatures entering the sector. Syrian energy patterns confirmed." Nash met Nira's swirling eyes. Looks like we're out of time for deliberation. Your people. They won't stop until they find me. Nira's colors darkened. You should leave me. Your ship, your crew. I won't be responsible for more deaths. Nash stood, squaring his shoulders. That's not how we do things. Doctor, is our guest fit for transport? Harrison nodded. Stable enough for now, though I'd like to continue monitoring. Good. Nash tapped his comm. Bridge, plot a course for the Ganymede station. Maximum speed. He turned back to Nira. I hope you understand that you'll remain under guard. Trust has to be earned. Nira's skin rippled with what Nash was beginning to recognize as their version of a smile. I would expect nothing less, Commander. And thank you. As Nash strode back to the bridge, his mind raced with possibilities and dangers. He'd just committed his ship and crew to protecting a fugitive scientist from humanity's recent enemies, based on nothing more than instinct and a story that seemed too perfectly crafted to be coincidence. Yet something about Nira's presence felt right, like the missing piece of a puzzle he hadn't known he was solving. As the celestial guardian accelerated away from the pursuit, Nash couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter would change everything. For him, for humanity, and for the fragile peace they'd all sacrificed so much to achieve. The real question was, would that change bring salvation or destruction? Trust and betrayal. The Ganymede station loomed before them, its massive solar arrays gleaming in Jupiter's reflected light. Nash stood in his ready room, watching the approach while Lieutenant Rodriguez briefed him on their pursuers. We lost them near Saturn's rings, she reported, but given Syrian tracking capabilities. They'll find us eventually, Nash finished. He turned to face Nira, who stood by the viewport, their skin shifting between deep blues and greens as they studied the station, which means we need answers quickly. Nira's colors rippled with determination. I can prove everything, but I'll need access to your quantum communications array. Out of the question, Rodriguez interjected. Station protocols explicitly forbid. Emily. Nash held up a hand. Give us the room. Once they were alone, Nash studied their unusual guest. Over the past week, he'd observed Nira's interactions with the crew. Despite initial suspicion, they'd shown nothing but openness and a genuine curiosity about human culture. Either they were an exceptional spy, or why the quantum array specifically? He asked. Nira's skin shimmered with what Nash now recognized as excitement. The evidence is hidden in subspace fluctuations. The false flag attacks left signatures, microscopic distortions in quantum fields that prove they weren't human weapons. And you can prove this. With the right equipment, yes. But Nira's colors darkened. We'll have only one chance. The moment we access these readings, they'll know where to find us. Nash weighed his options. His career, his crew's safety, possibly even Earth's fragile peace, all resting on whether he could trust this alien scientist. His instincts said yes, but instincts had started wars before. Commander, Nira moved closer, their nebula eyes intense. I understand your hesitation, but ask yourself, why would I risk everything, become a fugitive from my own people, if I wasn't certain? Before Nash could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Rodriguez's voice came through the comm. Sir, we have multiple ships dropping out of FTL. Syrian signatures confirmed. Nash's decision crystallized. Plot an emergency dock with Ganymede. Lieutenant, get me Admiral Chen. The next hours passed in a blur of activity. Nash called in every favor he'd accumulated in 15 years of service. To his surprise, his reputation carried more weight than expected. The Admiral, after a lengthy private conversation with Nira, granted them restricted access to the station's quantum lab. As Nash watched Nira work, their fingers dancing over human controls with surprising dexterity, he found himself studying their profile. There was something almost beautiful about their single-minded focus, the way their skin rippled with subtle colors as they concentrated. There, Nira exclaimed suddenly, Look at these patterns. Nash leaned in, examining the complex data streams. Even with his limited scientific background, he could see the anomalies. These readings, they're not from human tech. No. These energy signatures are unique to Syrian quantum torpedoes. The attacks that started the war, they were launched by our own weapons, disguised to look like human aggression. The implications hit Nash like a physical blow. Who? Why? Naira's colors darkened to a deep purple. The military ascendancy. They've always believed conflict drives evolution. Peace was inconvenient for their plans. Warning klaxons cut through the air. Rodriguez's voice crackled over the comm. Sir, they found us. 3 warships on approach, weapons hot. Nash straightened, years of command taking over. Download everything. We need. The explosion caught them both off guard. Nash was thrown against a console as emergency force fields snapped into place. Through the haze of smoke, he saw Nira sprawled motionless on the floor, their colors fading to an alarming gray. Nira. He crawled to them, checking for signs of life. Their skin was cold, colors barely shifting. Medical team to the quantum lab now. As Nash cradled Nira's unconscious form, he realized 2 things. First, someone on the station had helped the attackers. The explosion had come from inside. Second, watching Nira's colors fade stirred emotions he hadn't expected to feel for an alien refugee. The war, it seemed, was about to begin again. But this time, the battle lines weren't so clearly drawn. Hidden truths. The medical bay of Ganymede Station hummed with activity as Nash paced outside the treatment room. Dr. Harrison's words echoed in his mind. Their biology is incredibly complex. We're doing everything we can, but... Commander. Rodriguez approached, her expression grim. You need to see this. She led him to a secure terminal where security footage played. The quantum lab, moments before the explosion. A figure in a station uniform, planting something behind a panel. The face turned toward the camera for just a moment. But it was enough. Administrator Collins, Nash growled. He has clearance for the whole station, and direct ties to 3 defense contractors who profited heavily from the last war. Rodriguez added, Sir, this goes deeper than we thought. Nash's jaw clenched. Find him. Quietly. Already did. Rodriguez's eyes glinted. He's trying to arrange transport off-station. We have maybe an hour before. A commotion from the treatment room interrupted them. Nash burst through the doors to find Nira conscious, their skin swirling with urgent patterns of red and gold. The data, they gasped, trying to sit up. Did you secure it? Easy. Nash gently pressed them back. You nearly died. That doesn't matter. The proof is safe, Nash assured them. But we have bigger problems. The explosion wasn't random. Someone on this station is working with your military ascendancy. Naira's colors shifted to a deep, troubled blue. Of course, they would have agents everywhere, preparing for the next war. Their nebula eyes fixed on Nash. You believe me now. I believed you before, Nash admitted, but now we have proof. The question is, what do we do with it? Naira's response was cut off by another alarm. Through the viewport, Nash watched as one of the Syrian warships opened fire on the station. Emergency force fields flared to life as the first shots struck. Sir, Rodriguez's voice was tight. They're demanding we hand over the traitor and all research data. They're threatening to destroy the station. Nash looked at Nira, seeing not an alien scientist, but someone who had risked everything for the truth. Someone he had come to care about, despite every regulation and rational thought. How long until they breach our shields? He asked. 20 minutes, maybe less. Nash nodded, a plan forming. Get me a secure channel to Admiral Chen, and find out if Collins has left the station. James, Mira's voice was soft, using his first name for the first time. Their colors shifted to a gentle rose gold. You don't have to risk everything for me. Nash turned back to them, allowing himself a small smile. Maybe not, but sometimes the right choice isn't the safe one. He touched their shoulder, feeling the subtle vibration of their shifting colors. Can you walk? If necessary. Nira's determination showed in their strengthening colors. What's the plan? First, we expose the truth, all of it. Then, Nash's eyes hardened. We make sure both our peoples understand exactly who their real enemies are. As they prepared to move, Nash caught Rodriguez's knowing look. Yes, he had grown closer to Nira than regulations strictly allowed. Yes, his actions could be seen as compromising his command. But watching Nira struggle to stand, their courage undimmed by pain and betrayal, Nash knew he wouldn't have it any other way. The real war wasn't between humans and Syrians. It was between those who sought truth and those who profited from lies. And this time, Nash intended to make sure the right side won. Rising storm. The maintenance tunnels of Ganymede Station echoed with their footsteps as Nash led their small group through the darkness. Nira moved silently beside him, their skin providing just enough bioluminescence to light their way. Behind them, Rodriguez and two trusted security officers watched their backs. Administrator Collins's last known location. Rodriguez whispered, checking her tablet. Just ahead. Nash raised his hand, signaling the group to stop. They could hear voices around the corner. Collins and someone else, speaking in hushed tones. The data must be destroyed. An unfamiliar voice hissed. The ascendancy was clear. The explosion should have handled that, Collins replied. If you'd given me more time. Time is a luxury we no longer have. The strange voice carried harmonic undertones that Nash recognized. A Syrian military officer. The station's shields will fail in minutes. Be ready. Nash caught Rodriguez's eye, nodding. They had walked into something bigger than a simple conspiracy. This was coordination at the highest levels. Commander, Nira's voice was barely a whisper, their skin pulsing with urgent patterns. That voice, its first speaker Voss. He leads the military ascendancy. Nash's blood ran cold. The highest-ranking Syrian military leader, here on the station. The implications were staggering. Before they could retreat, an alarm blared through the tunnels. Warning. Shield failure imminent. All personnel proceed to emergency shelters. Now, Nash ordered, leading his team around the corner. Hands where we can see them. Collins spun, reaching for a weapon, but Rodriguez was faster. The administrator crumpled under her stun blast. The Syrian officer, Voss, stood his ground, his metallic scales reflecting the emergency lights. Commander Nash, Voss's voice was almost musical in its mockery. And our wayward scientist. How convenient. It's over. Nash kept his weapon trained on the Syrian leader. We have the proof. Both our governments will know what you did. Voss's scales rippled with amusement. You understand so little. Do you think your precious Admiral Chen doesn't know? War is profitable, Commander. Peace makes people soft, comfortable, complacent. The station shuddered as another blast struck home. Nash's comm crackled. Multiple hull breaches detected. Boarding parties on 3 levels. You see. Voss spread his arms. The wheels are already in motion. A new war begins today. And this time, there will be no survivors to question the narrative. Nira stepped forward, their colors blazing with fury. You would sacrifice millions, destroy both our peoples, for power. For evolution. Voss corrected. Conflict breeds strength. Your research proved that before you lost your nerve. Nash saw Nira flinch at the words, but their voice remained steady. My research was meant to help people, not destroy them. Another explosion rocked the station. Nash's decision was instant. Rodriguez, get that data to Admiral Chen's personal channel. The rest of you, fall back to the emergency shuttles. James, Nira's colors swirled with concern. What are you doing? Nash met their gaze, allowing himself a small smile. proving that humanity's strength comes from protecting what matters, not destroying it. He turned back to Voss. "You're under arrest, both of you." Voss laughed, the sound like breaking crystal. "You would risk everything for an alien. For truth. Some things are bigger than." The Syrian leader's words cut off as Nash's stun blast caught him in the chest. As Voss crumpled, Nash quickly secured both prisoners. "Commander," Rodriguez called from her position. "Data transmission complete. But sir, the station's cord is destabilizing. We have minutes at most." Nash nodded grimly. It was time for the final gambit. "Get to the shuttles. I'll handle the rest." New dawn. The Ganymede Station's command center was chaos when Nash arrived, half carrying a struggling Collins while Rodriguez and her team handled Voss. Emergency crews rushed past as Nash accessed the main communication array. "Attention all vessels," his voice rang out across all channels. "This is Commander James Nash. I am transmitting proof of conspiracy and treason by elements of both human and Syrian leadership. The recent attacks were orchestrated to trigger a new war." He nodded to Rodriguez, who began broadcasting the quantum data and security footage. "To the Syrian vessels attacking the station, your leaders have betrayed you. First Speaker Voss is in custody, along with his human collaborators." The station shuddered again, but the weapons fire had stopped. Nash continued, feeling Nira's presence beside him, their colors a steady, supporting blue. "We stand at a crossroads. We can allow those who profit from war to drive us apart again, or we can choose a different path. The choice is yours." For a long moment, silence reigned. Then, a new voice came over the comm. "Admiral Chen." "This is Admiral Chen of Earth Command. We have received Commander Nash's evidence and corroborated its authenticity. All Earth forces stand down. We await the Syrian response." Another pause, this one stretching taut with tension. Finally, a harmonious voice responded. "This is High Council Speaker Mira. We have reviewed the data. All Syrian forces are ordered to cease hostilities immediately." The command center erupted in cheers. Nash felt Nira's hand slip into his, their skin glowing with joy and relief. "It's really over?" Rodriguez asked, still watching the monitors carefully. "The fighting is," Nash replied. "The hard part comes next." The following weeks proved him right, as joint human-Syrian investigations uncovered the full scope of the conspiracy. Both societies grappled with uncomfortable truths. Leaders fell, alliances shifted, and slowly, painfully, real dialogue began. Nash found himself at the center of it all, working alongside Nira to build bridges between their peoples. Their partnership became a symbol of what could be achieved through trust and understanding. "You know," Nira said one evening, as they watched Earth rise over Jupiter's clouds from the newly repaired station, "when you found me in that pod, I had lost faith in everything I thought I knew." Nash turned to them, admiring the way their skin shimmered with contentment. "And now I believe in something stronger than fear or hatred." Their colors shifted to that rose-gold hue that Nash had come to associate with affection. "I believe in us, not just you and me, but all of us, working together." Nash smiled, reaching for their hand. "It won't be easy. There's still so much suspicion, so many wounds to heal." "The best things never are easy." Mira's eyes sparkled with their version of a smile. "But that's what makes them worth fighting for." As they stood together, watching their two worlds begin the long journey toward true peace, Nash reflected on how far they'd come. From a desperate rescue in restricted space to changing the course of history, all because they'd chosen to trust, to believe in something bigger than themselves. The war that never was had ended, and in its place, something new had begun to grow. Hope, understanding, and perhaps most surprisingly of all, love that transcended the boundaries of worlds.